in the private chat, and then I will share that out.
Um,
Oh,
I don't know.
you're
I
in
don't.
Inception.
We
I'll
are
find it.
live at the moment. Please excuse us, guys. Me and Omar just having a private conversation. Can you do that, Omar? Because I've never done that whilst streaming live on
Yeah,
StreamYard.
I'll find it.
So while Omar is doing that, good evening. This is Inception Live, and I'm Gloria. I have a very, 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 very special guest on this evening. I'm not going to say his surname because I never pronounce it correctly. You'll see his mugshot and you'll know who he is. So, Omar. Omar, welcome to the show, and please pronounce your surname.
Thank you, Gloria. It's so nice to be here. And my last name is Faizi, which I really don't use. I've changed my surname to I am one. So
Well,
I
then,
go with Omar, I am one. I
okay.
decided to
So,
change up my name because of, I would say, energetic reasons, because I really feel that the name that a person carries is energetically tied to them. And if something doesn't resonate with you, if your name doesn't resonate with you, then I think it's okay for you to change
I
your
love
name.
it. I love that because over recent months and on the shows and in my groups, I'm talking. I have a label for it. I call it spellcasting. That words as well as thoughts, what goes out has a vibration and it reflects back. So I agree with you. So there you go. You see, I like that. So anyway, have you shared it out? Have you done it now? Have you done it?
I am doing that just now, and I got a big garbage truck that just left my parking lot that was
You know
making
what?
a
As
lot of
you know,
noise.
guys, audience, you know me. I have organic conversations, nothing professional, but I love my organic conversations. Let them be natural. There's no beliefs how a show should be. If it's organic, then it will inspire and it will create. So, when you've done it. I can see
Yeah,
it.
I've shared it to my Facebook. I'm tweeting it right now,
Oh, you can
and
tweet
then
away, Omar. Carry on. Just tweet away.
and
Right,
then I
song.
will
Robin, tweet, tweet, tweet. Yeah, tweet away.
yeah,
Do it.
I'll tweet this, and then one more share, and I will share this to my YouTube channel,
Oh,
because I was just live doing my pyramid week,
yeah.
and I let my audience know that I'm going
Mhm.
to be live with you.
Ooh.
So here we go.
So when he's done
Host,
all his stuff, this is in real time,
let's
guys.
do it. I'm good
Let's
to
do
go.
it. Right. I will rewind. Good evening. I'm Gloria, and this is Inception Live. My very, 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 very special guest tonight, returning guest is Omar. Um, Before we get into your journey towards awakening, I would like to promote everything this man is doing, and also Rob Yox on the other side of Full Spectrum Universe. But for Omar, it's Omar's night tonight. I was blessed enough to be part of the conference, but you've done so much since, and also you're doing your pyramid week. So, Omar, just for the audience, a brief of the pyramid week, what it's about, sell yourself, and then we'll get down to a conversation.
Well, Gloria, this is a new adventure that I am on with my channel. I've been around for going into my ninth year now. So
Hmm.
June 20th will be my Watchers Talks ninth birthday, going into my ninth season.
Hmm.
And what I've done up until now has been very generic, grassroots type of one-on-one interviews I've done with researchers and authors and such in most everything. You name it, I've talked about it on my channel, and I've done a lot of conferences. And what I've started to do now over the last several weeks is I want to start doing like some super super deep dives
Yeah.
into subjects and topics that really
Mhm.
matter. So a
Yeah.
few weeks ago, I started this experiment with my Looking Glass week, and during that week, I brought on 6 speakers that spoke about the looking glass from their own perspectives. And then at the end of the week on Saturday, I bring them all on as a panel discussion so that we can exchange ideas and create conversation and have dialogue and encourage one another. So after that, I noticed that my audience really enjoyed that themed out week. So what I thought I would do next was do a pyramid awareness week, because I'm really, really interested in ancient Egypt and the pyramids and things like that.
Behind me, yep, my art.
And I know a lot of people that that talk about pyramids. So I thought, okay, let me try that. So this week, what I've done is I've put together 6 speakers that talk about the Great Pyramid of Egypt in 6 different perspectives. And I've been doing that up until, today. I just actually finished about 10 minutes ago with my guest, Pavel Smutny. And for the rest of the week, I'm going to continue to do the same thing. And then on Saturday, I'm going to bring all of my speakers on from the week and have a panel discussion so that we can exchange ideas and learn about one another and what we're up to as to the research that is being done by these individuals. Like some of them are building pyramids up in Russia, in Tomsk, Russia. We have Patricia Avon that lives in Egypt. She's been in Egypt for 14 years. She's an expert on pyramids. And Ildi Budai, same thing. She lives in Egypt, originally from Australia, but she moved to Egypt a couple of years ago. And she's visited Egypt about 25, 30 times. So as far as I'm concerned, she's an expert herself.
Yeah.
And then Michael Feely, that's going to be coming on. You had Michael Feely on a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
And he recently wrote a book called Who Built the Pyramids? So he's going to come on and he's going to talk about it. And another individual, Chuck Vanderbilt, that I've been working with for the last couple of months. And, he himself is working on acoustics and sound for the Great Pyramid. And, his hypothesis is that it's a Stargate. And, a lot of other people have said the same thing. Yeah. But he's got, some really interesting research. So, bring him on and discuss that. And, that's really kind of what I'm up to. And I've themed out my weeks for the next, couple months. Like, for instance, after this pyramid week, I'm doing a zodiac week. Where I'm going to talk about astrology, astronomy, things like that. And then really see where, astrologically where our consciousness is as to where we stand in the universe. And then after that, I have a space week coming up where we're going to talk about planets and things like that. And then after that, I have my ancient civilizations. I'm going to talk about Tartaria, Atlantis, things like that. And then it's the Watchers Talk birthday week from June 19th to the 25th. And then after that, I'm going to be doing a week on giants. And then, do another week on ET and UFO star families. And then after that, I'm doing an Indigenous week. Bring on Aboriginal elders from North America, South America, Europe, Africa, Australia, Asia, pretty much from all over the world. Because I'm Indigenous myself, so I enjoy listening to the Indigenous knowledge. And then after that, I'm going to be doing a week in ancient India. And then after that, going to be doing a week on sound healing. And that leads me up into like the end of July. So, I'm going to stop my schedule there just in case my family wants to go camping or something in August. I don't want to have to tell them, oh, sorry, I'm booked.
Exactly.
I get my ass kicked.
Exactly. And give yourself some time out. So if you're watching live or on the rerun, on my wall is the links to Omar's. I highly recommend you try and catch most of his stuff. Because of the time delay. I'm in the UK. He's in, where are you? You're in Canada.
I'm in Canada, yeah.
In Canada. Because of the time delay, I can't watch everybody and everything, but I do try my best to catch up on a lot of things, or if I can, share them out. And I think what I like about that is what I've said to you prior to us going live is the format of my shows are changing. I've always had an organic conversation, but I really need to shift it now. Been there, done and did all the stats, and we all know everything about, we've all got an idea. But now to bring in the personal perception of the individual.
Mm-hmm.
For me, but more importantly, as I stated, the journey towards self-realization. And it's that journey towards self-realization. It's going to be different for every single being, every single being. And that's how it should be. You know, my orange analogy, you know, cut an orange in half, give half to you, half to me. We're both experiencing the orange. However, we will experience it totally different. We'll express it in different terminologies. We'll have different sensations, different perceptions, like, it's too sour. And you'll go, no, Gloria, it's sweet. Well, even, you know, something that one may dislike, another will like. No one is wrong. No one is right. It's a perception. And that's what I've really liked about, I've loved always your shows, but I've liked the change that's happened in your shows, because you're bringing in like these guests on one topic, but maybe 6 different perceptions, as you just said.
Mm-hmm.
And that opens it up. That opens it up. So it brings in the aspect of non-judging another. Well, you experienced it that way. Well, no, I experienced it this way, and opens it out. And so I think what you're doing is absolutely amazing. And that's why tonight I called you the very, 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 very special guest. Welcome to my show.
And I guess we're resonating in the same line here, Gloria, because you're saying that you're changing up the you know, the way you're carrying out your show, and I'm doing the very same thing.
Yes.
Because what I've discovered over the 9 years is that I've talked about almost everything under the sun that needs to be spoken about, and now what I feel, you know, it's time to do is to begin to do those deep dives into subjects, right? Because I can, you know, I can bring on 50 guests, I can bring on 100 guests, I can in fact bring on 200 guests if I want, as I did recently with 122. There's no problem in bringing in speakers, right? So now my focus has changed. You know, my perceptions changed to the point where, you know, I want to promote the idea that no one's right, no one's wrong, and that we must respect one another and support one another. Just because you think that, you know, a particular thing works in a particular way, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's right or wrong, when somebody else can look at the same thing, as you were saying with the orange, that their perception may be different. So what I'd like to do with this is to, you know, open that dialogue and show the community, right? The community that we're involved in, but not just the community that we're involved in, but the new people that are waking up and coming into our streams and our shows, that are following us and checking us out, to show them that, you know, there is no division in our camp over here. They're coming from the
hold on, jumping in and interrupting you, because this is just a conversation. There's no one way either.
There isn't,
we are doing something similar. There's no one way to do so. And way back when we're sharing the information, you know, you say, yes, this is the truth, and but that's past now. Now it's bringing in all the truths, because all truths are truth. All truths are truth. There's one Earth, one planet, 7-8 billion worlds. We're all in our own quantum bubble. Our world, how we perceive it, how we create it. So I think I am in total agreement with you. It is like this deep dive. This is get deep down and personal. And for me, coming from the process of self-realization, is there is, well, it's not a motive, but there's, you know, there is an objective here for me to have the conversation and bring out the being hiding behind the identity. Because it's the identity that has the belief systems, the ideas, that nothing's wrong with it, but to pull that out. And I think you need to have these type of conversations. You need to use introspection and discernment but allow another person to say, well, this is my truth. And you know what I found, Omar? When you bring people together, they all narrate it differently. However, they're saying exactly the same thing.
And
only the ego will go, no. But if you listen, no one ever listens anymore. If you listen with your heart, no matter how they word their truth.
Yeah.
They're saying exactly the same thing you're saying. Just as
Yeah,
well.
exactly. And and this is where, I was saying earlier that the people that are waking up, they're coming from a side that's extremely divided.
Yeah.
And there's preconception, there's judgment, there's all kinds of negative things that are happening in the world that they're leaving behind.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so when they're coming into our world that we're trying to create here, this new earth, new timeline, new human, that we need to lead by example. We need to show these people that we're working from our heart space. There's
Yeah.
no division from us. What you're saying is correct, that is your
Yeah.
truth. What I'm saying is correct, that is my truth.
Mm-hmm.
And as you just said, if we actually listen, not hear, but actually listen to what somebody is saying and listen to their words, but not only their words, but if we read their energy and then read their body language and read what's being said in between the words, what they're saying is exactly the same thing as you're saying, but just differently, right?
Absolutely.
It's like people, I watched a video a couple of days ago here on Facebook that showed this guy running in different ways, right? This one guy runs like Forrest Gump, another guy runs like Sylvester Stallone, another guy runs like, however. But the message that I took away from there is that everybody is running. They're doing the very same thing, but they're doing it differently. And this ascension process and this awakening that we're in is the very same thing, is that we're all going into this with our own perception, with our own realities, with our own life experiences. And from that, we really need to go into that heart space and realize where we are at, that everybody does things differently, but yet everyone's doing exactly the same thing. It's like when people eat, Gloria. It's like when people eat. When I eat, I chew with my mouth closed. When my son eats, he everywhere. We're doing the same thing, but just differently. But the problem is that we're so programmed to judge one another, where it's like a deeply ingrained piece of programming within us that's almost like a cancer, where we can be standing at our window and look outside and see somebody walking, and we're just automatically we're judging them. Oh, look,
it's an automatic thing. Unless as soon as you start to catch it, it does sort of subside. However, I mean, this is a really important part before we jump into your timeline, because we're going to go personal with Omar in a minute. It's like at the moment we are, we've all said, okay, we're deconstructing, we're all coming through self-realization, awakening, However, to co-create now, we co-created what we did. To co-create now, we have to have a conversation. We have to talk. We have to drop these judgments and biases and belief systems. I mean, I know I've ate so much humble pie. I had belief systems hidden inside I never knew I had. I was like, until they jump out and I go, what the fuck? And boom. So this is why these types of conversations. So I'm for what you're doing, and I've got to give it to. I know Rob's not on tonight. I'm going to get him on soon. And for Rob Yox as well. It's outstanding what you two are doing. The questions, the allowing that you have, and the acceptance, whatever comes to you. I watch. I'm reading you all the time, and you're allowing your guests to open up and say, "This is my truth," and they feel safe. And for me, the most important thing about my shows, and it's always been, but it's now been ramped up, is for the guests to really feel safe, free to be who they are. And I've noticed that you can send me the check in the post later, all right, love? I've noticed that on your shows. Now, we've got past that part. So this is where, and that is sort of like a segue into.
I always want to, the thing for me with Watchers Talk from the beginning has always been to create a safe sharing space for myself, the audience that's watching, and the guest. Right. It's, for me, that's the most important. I don't care if somebody's been following my channel for 6-7 years. 8 years, 9 years, it really doesn't matter. If a person goes offside in the comments in my channel, I will block them. And maybe I'll block them for one day, or maybe just for that show, because maybe they're having a bad day and they just want to kind of vent, right? But my channel is not a place to vent, to let out that negative energy, because I don't want my guests to be looking at the comments and going, oh my God, look what they're saying. I never want to come back on here ever again, right? So for me, a safe sharing space is key. It's the number one thing that that we need to create in order for us to begin to share our truths, to begin to share our life story, to begin to share our experiences, and to know that you're not going to get attacked for what you're saying, right? Whatever you believe in is what you believe in. That's your business, right? I don't have the right to tell you whether you're right or you're wrong, right? Because I don't know where you're coming from, just as you don't know where I'm coming from.
Exactly.
Right? So it's important. That's extremely important in this business that we're involved in.
And I mean that I said prior to the show, there's, like, we could say, lost souls out there. There's an imbalance, and beings are searching to try and find their way. And I think having these conversations, showing the richness and the diversity of different truths on the same path, because not one paintbrush will fit, color all. They can select and listen to and go, well, that interests me, or that happened to me. Oh, I didn't take much note. Oh, and they go back in. So, and just to end this segment of this part of the conversation, is from the get-go with me, I've always been interested in other beings' experience on this journey as an ET contactee as well, especially if they've had contact with the dimensionals. It's always fascinated me, because, like, and I'm like this, wow, you got that? I didn't get that. But I got this, and I see it in more of a play way now. I'm playing the role, they're playing the role, and I'm going, I still react as a human. Well, I never got that. Why didn't I get that, guys? But then but that's the same thing. It's the same experience, but the perception is different. It's two different quantum bubbles of experience. So we're coming to yours now, Omar. I titled the show "Your Journey Towards Awakening." Can you go back and just give us, I mean, we haven't got all week to be on here, so you're gonna have to cut it short, because I know there's a lot. Some major go back and to some major shifts that caused, or contact, or whatever it was that caused these paradigm shifts. I mean, like, we're both changing. Later on, we've got time. I know why my shows changed. Something happened, and it was a paradigm shift. I didn't know at the time, but then I noticed I was doing different things. So back to you. When did your sort of door opening time really come, and what was it that did it for you?
It was twice that happened to me. The first time was in the mid 1990s. I just been released from prison, and I moved to a small town called Peachland in the Okanagan Valley, not too far from here. It was a town of about 2,500 people, and I came from a city that had 1.5 million people. So when I got to Peachland, I was quite content. I was happy. I was free, and and I began to meditate on a full-time basis, because in prison I did a lot of meditating, I did a lot of astral traveling, things like that. And then once I got out, I still stayed in Edmonton for a few months, and then once I got out, I calmed down on my meditation. Instead of being in a meditative state from morning till night, I began meditation like maybe twice a day, 3 times a day. And then when I moved to Peachland, I just loved the atmosphere and the environment. And I was sitting on the beach, and I was waking up, right? I was beginning to become aware of myself, but not fully. I was still in that robotic zone, that zombie state zone, where I was just, consciousness hadn't entered my body, right? Or I hadn't connected with consciousness at that moment. So while I was meditating, what had happened was, I began to levitate myself. My brother decided that he was going to go to the store and grab us some munchies because we'd been, smoking some pot and things like that. And he's like, I'll be back. I'm going to go get some munchies. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm just going to lay here on the bench. I'm going to meditate. I knew he'd be gone for about 10, 15 minutes. So I thought, great. I'm going to meditate. Got the, water hitting the beach. It's nice. It's beautiful, great environment. So I began to meditate laying there, and, I levitated myself to about an inch off the bench. And then in the distance, I heard my brother call out my name and kind of broke my concentration. And I fell like that, right? Just like that. I felt my head, my shoulder blades, my tailbone, my heels all hit the bench at the same time. So I knew right then and there that I'd done something, right? That I actually wasn't on the bench, but actually didn't feel myself lifting off the bench.
Yeah.
That was the weird thing, that I was just kind of just there. And then after that, a few days later, I was doing again the same thing, sitting on the beach, meditating, smoking a joint, and just kind of just chilling. And suddenly, I had this energetic knowing, right? This energetic understanding, and I didn't really quite catch what was happening at that time. Like I said, I was a zombie. I hadn't really made my Wi-Fi connection to the consciousness. And during that understanding, I learned that something was going to happen to Princess Diana, that she was going to die, but I didn't know exactly how. I just knew that something terrible was about to happen. And so I told my brother, I was like, hey, I got a feeling something's going to happen to Princess Diana. She's, I think they're going to kill her, or, something's going on. And, of course, he's in the same state as myself, in that zombie state. And, he kind of dismissed it. I dismissed it and really didn't think too much about it. And then 3 days later, we were sitting in a pizza shop called Peachland Pizza. And I had my back to the window, and my brother had his back to the window watching the TV in the front. And I was sitting in front of him, looking out the window at the beach and the lake. And then the news came on that Princess Diana had died in the Paris tunnel, and my brother's face just went like pale white, like your wall behind you, just pale white. And he looks at me and he's like, "Hey, look, look." And I turned around, I started watching, and I was like, "Oh my God!" And I had goosebumps just all over my body. And then right then and there, the same thing happened to me again. As I was watching, I just had this understanding. It's really difficult to explain. But right then and there, I knew that tomorrow, the next day, Mother Teresa was going to die from a heart failure. And I knew like almost the details. It's almost like I was watching it in a movie type of format, but it's really difficult to explain. But anyways, I told my brother that thing at that very moment, and I was like, "Oh my God, guess who's going to die next? It's going to be Mother Teresa from a heart failure." And he's like, "Oh, get the fuck out of here." And I was like, "No, bro." I said, I just know, right? He's like, "How do you know?" I said, "I don't know. I just know, just like this. I just know." And he's like, okay. He goes, "We'll come back and we'll keep an eye on this," because he's he's being speculative, and same with myself. Right. So the next day we went back to the same Peachland Pizza, and we're sitting there munching on our pizza, and the news came on, and then it was Mother Teresa died. And and I've never seen him this white, right? Like literally, I've never seen him turn this white. And he was just totally white. And then he's like, "What's the lottery numbers, bro? Let's get some lottery numbers." And I was like, "I don't think it works like that, right?"
No.
He's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm not doing anything." I said, "I'm just being me. And I just, for some reason, this is happening."
Can I, before we go further, I mean, I do relate to what you said. For anyone in the audience, it's a really hard thing to articulate. How I word it is, when this information comes in, we put labels on, precognition, blah, 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 blah. We do all that. But it's just like, you don't ask for it. You're not searching for it. You could be doing anything like you were, with your brother, or on the bed, whatever happens. And then you just know it and see it as if you're in it. And then it goes. It's, the only way another analogy I can use, like we get flashbacks. It's like the TV series Flash Forward. I don't mean like the TV series, but flash forward. It's like you get the flash, and people say, because I used to question way back when I was a child with precognition, similar to that, with events that would happen. And I remember going, I can't stop an event. Why are you showing me? When I was younger, why are you showing me? I was screaming at this God, yeah? Why are you showing me something I can't stop? And then my truth is, along the line, it could change at any time. Eventually, over the hundreds of years I've been here, it was to show me that's part of who I am, a gift that every human being has. That's just showing you, teasing you out that it's just who you are, the all-seeing source, that all things at all times but through the journey of this awakening, or so I call it self-realization, no different. We get the glimpses, and it's through our questioning and discernment that it opens it up more. Does that resonate with you at all?
Yeah, it does. And I now understand that the cyclical time, everything is happening all at once, and that all of us humans have this extra sensory ability, all of them, telekinesis, telepathy,
everything,
you name it, we have it. And it's just it's a matter of vibration and distortion. If you're vibrating at a particular distortion, then I think you can tap in to like a crystal ball kind of thing, where you become aware of what's to come. And
it's quite, it is. I mean, that is a massive paradigm shift for you. And mine was not Princess Diana. Mine was way before that, but it was something totally different. And it's tried to capture for the audience or anyone who's interested. It will be something it won't be like anyone else's. Okay, it's not supposed to be, but it'll be something like that. Some people go into fear, and it takes them a little while to work through that. Some people just go ding, okay, I'm going over there. It will be different, the experience we did, but every human on this earth is at the moment going through it, has been through it, and there's no one further ahead or behind, because it's the source one. So I just wanted to capture the major big paradigm shift for you, which is Princess Diana and Mother Teresa. I remember when that happened, and I think the whole planet shifted when she passed. The whole planet shifted. I am not a royalist in any shape, form. I don't believe in a hierarchical system.
Me neither.
And that's nothing to do with self-realization. It was, even when I was younger, I was a rebel. But when she passed, you felt the cry of the earth, of humanity. Every culture in the world, every country in the world, every religion in the world, no matter what their belief systems, their heart went in mourning for one human being. I'm not surprised that billions of people were shifted on the death of Diana. You think it's a sad thing, but when you change the way you look at something, your perception, the good that came out of her transitioning off, she was here just for that, for that shift to happen, because the whole world got shifted with her. So
I don't think myself, Gloria, I don't think myself that I'm the only one that actually picked up on that.
No, I know
many people across the planet
and
same thing that
Mother
I did.
Teresa, believe it or not, many has picked up on Diana that week. They didn't quite understand, just like many picked up on 9/11, before 9/11, many millions. So it's a collective thing. But when something so powerful happens, but I'm talking about like with Diana, how can that energy not be felt? And
Yeah.
and I think it was to impact the shift at that time. And it obviously, everyone talks about, I knew this, I knew that. It was way out there. The
Mhm.
ripples just went everywhere. And yeah, we went into conspiracy theories, who killed, what killed. But in the end, through self-realization, you realize it doesn't matter about
Yeah.
conspiracy theories.
Yeah. None of that matters.
None of that matters. It was the shift and the impact, just like a heartfelt asteroid had hit us. Wake the
Mhm.
fuck up. This is how it goes. So, right, we're going to move on because that shifted you. What come next, Omar?
I fell back asleep. Oddly enough, after that happened, nothing else happened to me, and I just went back to being, what I was, and who I was.
Yeah.
So after that, I went traveling. I went, down to the States, and then, I managed my way into Europe and traveled across Europe, and then came back again to Canada. And then in 2008, I met my wife. And one day we were just chilling, right? And actually, I think I was outside, my wife was inside, and the show Ancient Aliens had come on. And she'd never seen that show. I'd never heard of that show. And, at the time I was drywalling. So I think I was outside preparing for a house that I was about to do. And Amy comes out, and then she's like, "Hey, hon, you have to, come and watch the show. This is a very interesting show." And I was like, "Okay, well, not right now. I got to get ready." Right. She's like, "No, you got to come and watch the show right now. This is like about aliens and things like that." I said, I'm not interested in that kind of stuff. I don't really care. And she's like, "No, no, no, you got to come." So she grabs me by the hand, brings me inside the house, and we sat there and started watching Ancient Aliens. And I think the show was on for about 10 minutes, and it resonated with me. What I was watching, it was almost like going back to the 90s, but it wasn't the same, because what they were saying on the program was really resonating with me. And I was like, well, this is really, really interesting. And so the show was over, and I didn't pay too much more attention to that.
Mhm.
But when I went to work the next day, that's all I was thinking about, right? I was like, well, this guy was saying this and that, and, how can that be true? How can this be true?
Mhm.
So my, analytical brain decided to look into it a little bit more. And so I started to Google, and I started to, do some research into it. And what I was finding, again, in my mind, was a conspiracy theory, right? I was like, okay, well, this has got to be a conspiracy. So, blah, blah, blah. And then one day I was, driving across to Vancouver Island, and I'd stopped at a gas station just to rest up for a bit. And I was going through my Facebook, and this guy had added me to a Facebook group. And at the time, I had no idea that there were actually, Facebook groups. So when he added me to the Facebook group, I didn't really resonate with that much. I was like, well, you didn't ask me, I don't appreciate that. And, so I kept on going. And then about a week later, I decided, I was like, okay, I'm going to go and take a look at this group that I got added to. And I went and looked at the group, and it was almost like I was looking at Ancient Aliens again, because everything in there was just Mesopotamia, Sumer, ancient Egypt. And when I saw ancient Egypt, I resonated with that, because I am interested in ancient Egypt. Even back in the day, I used to watch, TLC and the Discovery Channel and PBS and National Geographic magazines, anything I can really get my hands on.
Same here,
And,
Egypt.
yeah, ancient Egypt. So when I saw that, I was like, hey, this is really cool. This is interesting. And then I was going through there, and I came across a few books. So I was like, okay, I'm going to read these books. So I downloaded the PDFs, and I began to read. And the more I read, the more I wanted to read. And then I thought, okay, well, I'm going to go and watch this Ancient Aliens show. And so I went and started watching that Ancient Aliens show, and I started watching, and I was like, wow, this is really interesting, because of the books now I was reading, and then this group, and then now this show. So everything kind of just really started to fall into place, and then I haven't looked back since then. And since that time, I've read hundreds literally hundreds of books, thousands of articles. It's really whatever I can get my hands on. I ended up finding this site, torrents, right? And then I would go onto torrents, and I started to download all of David Icke's books, and so I started to read David Icke. And then after David Icke, I started to read Chris Dunn, and then Robert Duvall, and I just kept going and going, and my study just became more and more and more intense.
Yeah.
And then my wife started to tell me about her experiences. She's like, I think I've had missing time. There's always somebody chasing me. There's these guys, and really tall guys with white coats on, and they kind of look like the Greys, and so I was like, okay, well, that's interesting. And so I went on to the group, and I began to query. I began to ask questions on anyone out there that's experiencing the same thing, because now I wanted to get to the bottom of it, because now it became personal that my wife was being interacted like that. And so I decided one day that, actually, before I did that, when I was in the group, a couple of the administrators in the group, they were just like power tripping. And I didn't like that, right? I was like, okay, well, there's no need to power trip. This is a community public group, and anyone's free to do whatever they want to do, right? But the power trip was there. You can say this, you can't say this, you can post this, you can't post that. And I was like, no, I'm not going to have somebody telling me what I can and can't do. So I thought, okay, enough of this. And I'd made friends with another lady called Sherry in the group, and then her and I decided that we were going to go and start our own group, Watchers, and not have any stipulations on what people can and can't post, and just let them, free for all on whatever they can share. Just follow the group description on what we're talking about ancient stuff and aliens and things like that. And at that time, I just wanted to learn on what's going on with my wife. So we had the group going for a few months, and then and then I thought, hey, I'm going to start my own podcast. And, and then at that time I was like, well, what we're going to call it. And the name of the group was Watchers, right? And I liked TED Talks, right? TED Talks. I like the concept of it. So I thought,
I did. I was
like, hey, we're Watchers, we're talking. So why don't we just call it Watchers Talk? And, and that was it. We came up with a name. And
that created the Mahusid platform.
That's right. And then Watchers Talk, it kind of began to develop from there.
Can I just jump in there before we go forward? Because I'm aware of others, but I'm going to talk about myself. Egypt has always been in the backdrop of the whole of my experiences from the get-go. I mean, with Egypt, when I was younger, I'd always find things, or when I was painting, because I'm an artist, and I never knew what I was painting at the time, had an Egyptian side to it. And I would do these squiggles, and I didn't know there were hieroglyphs at the time, but then I had no idea, because I went off to be a rebel at some point. But then later on, I love boot sales. I don't know what you call them in Canada. Boot sales, people sell their junk, which is
flea markets.
Oh, you call them flea markets.
Yeah.
We call them boot sales. And I've been going to boot sales since I was like 19, 20. I mean, that's like 150 years ago. And wherever I would go, I kept finding scarabs. That's how it all started. Everywhere I went was scarabs. And then every book I would look at, I didn't know what synchronicity was at the time, was the pharaohs. And it went on. And I become an avid researcher of Egypt. Avid, I mean, like you, ancient aliens, I was addicted. But I wanted to hear just about Egypt. Okay.
Yeah.
Just Egypt, but I did listen to I love the Nazca lines. That blew my mind away.
I was just thinking the Nazca lines.
Yeah, get out of my head, Omar.
Yeah.
And this progressed, and then I started watching documentaries. And as you know, I was blessed recently. I met David Icke in person.
Oh, you lucky you.
I'm telling you, just when he put his arm around me, I'm telling you, no matter what you think about the energy that came off that man, my spine was tingling, the whole vroom, vroom, goosebumps, just his energy, that was a, yeah, he's a legend because he stuck to his truth. Whether
Mm-hmm.
you agree or disagree,
Absolutely. I love
he's
that, man.
stuck to his truth. Right. So this was continuing, and then I started finding everything Egyptian, researching, watching ancient, anything I could do on ancient aliens, And then my daughter said to me, "Oh, do you want to come?" My daughter, it was about 10 years ago, this one, said to me, "Oh, we're going to the British Museum for the day out. Should we have a family day out, Mother? Would you like to come?" Yeah, all right then, with the kids. When I had no idea what was inside the British Museum, and I walked in, and they'd loaned from Egypt the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Mm-hmm.
They were there inside the building. And when I walked in, I felt this like vroom, vroom, vroom. I don't know what it was. And I said, "I'm going over there. Yeah, you do what you want." And I went over and I looked at the height. And as I don't know what happened to me. I was like I was scanning every single thing, Omar. That was a paradigm shift for me.
Mm-hmm.
That totally, I was like one with this. I had a connection. I understood from nowhere what inside the pyramids, the frequency used for self-realization, for and all of that came in. Vroom, vroom. Not that I understood it, but that all came in. So I so resonate with you. We've all got this connection, and then ultimately, as you can see, after a massive experience, Akhenaten, this love for Akhenaten, I can't tell you. There's so I love hearing other beings' experience. This is what the show's about. This connection to
Mm-hmm.
Egypt.
My catalyst was Zachariah. He was my catalyst. I read his books, and I listened to conversations based around his Anunnaki theories, and I watched a lot of interviews. I watched a lot of stuff on Nibiru, Planet X, and and for me, I just simply didn't resonate with what he was saying, and so I decided to do a little bit of deeper search into him. In fact, that was my first deep dive that I done, because from what I read and from what I was seeing on my screen, it just simply didn't make any sense to me. I was like, how is this even possible? Right. And then while I was doing a deep search in him, I came across the root races theosophy, and so I kind of turned my shift. So I wanted to first go and understand the human root races, and then I thought, okay, well, if I can learn about the human root races, then what Zachariah Sitchin is saying may resonate, and it may connect some dots for me, and then it'll help me to understand better on what he's trying to teach me and make me aware of. And the more I did, the more I was on the other side. I was like, no, this just doesn't seem to make any sense, because prior to that, I've always had interest in space. Always. I've always loved anything that had to do with space, exoplanets, planets, stars, you name it. So I was pretty aware of what was in our solar system, and I was aware of the asteroid belt. I was aware of the Oort cloud. So, I was pretty, well educated on space, because of the amount of time I spent in prison. I did a lot of reading, right? I was in 23 and a half hour lockdown, and I had a half hour out. So, that 23 and a half hours I spent meditating and reading. A lot about space. So when Zachariah Sitchin was saying that this Anunnaki came to Earth to mine gold so that they can help their planet, I was like, okay, well, wait a minute. There's more gold in space than there is here on the planet. And plus in space, it'll be easier to mine that gold and take it back to your planet than it is to come here on Earth and go
Mm.
through all the shit show that you
Yeah,
did
yeah.
to get the gold. So, for me, that just didn't resonate. And, then after going through the human root races, I learned that humanity is millions and millions of years old. And what Zachariah Sitchin is saying of humanity, of humans being created to be a slave race, I was like, okay, well, that doesn't make any sense because the humans have been around for 175 million years.
Mm.
So how is it even possible that, the Anunnaki would have created this modern human when this human's been around for 175 million years? So that was a flag number one that went up for me. And the second was that, why come to the earth to mine gold and to go through the process of, tinkering with a primate, and then to make that primate a workable primate, and then to be an obedient primate. And then, not only that, but you would have to have number of different genetically based humans that can breed. And then, you would have a population. And then, so what I learned during that time is that you would need 16 sets of couples to have a proper civilization where you wouldn't have any inbreeding type of illnesses happening. So I thought, okay, well, Zachariah Sitchin is saying that he only created one or two, and then now we actually need 16. And then in order for those 16 to develop a workforce, you would need multiple generations ongoing. And there's only 4 generations in each century. So even if we go back and say, okay, well, people are having kids at 12, 13 years old. So with that in mind, okay, we have now 5 generations within a century. Now, that's not enough.
No.
16
I mean, can I come in on the Zachariah Sitchin? I studied him too and listened to him too. And his story on the, like what you just stated, I don't want to repeat you, it kept reminding me of what's written in the Bible. Because I remember saying, there was Adam, there was Eve, and they had Cain and Abel. And when the story goes, I said, well, there was no other human. So how did they have children? And hold on, and I'm going, stop. Cain and Abel, right. Well, and then you hear the stories talking to this person and these, and I'm going, well, who are these people?
Yeah.
So when I heard that, I didn't resonate with me. That was one. But also I had a knowing at that time. I was not religious, but I was aware of the scriptures that this God that I used to think was in the sky, this God said, I breathed my spirit into you. And I resonated with this source being in me. And I thought, well, no, that also doesn't resonate, because I've got it, they've got it. So that I didn't. And the major one that really never resonated with me was Nibiru. It was Nibiru, because of understanding the source. I didn't know it was consciousness at the time. I didn't know what I know now. Hindsight's a bitch, guys, isn't it? However, it's it's the learning. So some of it I felt okay with, but most of his stories were in the Bible, but labels, names, and I thought, oh my God, you're just bringing fear. There was fear coming out of that narrative. So I didn't resonate either. I'm not saying he's wrong. It was his truth, but I didn't resonate with that at the time, similar to you. Yeah.
The more I learned about Zachariah Sitchin, the less I liked him. When you're saying fear, I absolutely agree. And not only that, but he was connected with the Rockefellers, and he was connected with the establishment.
Yeah.
And, and because of that, his truth to me just simply wasn't my truth, because me,
Omar, sorry to interrupt you. Didn't later on, I don't know anything, right? So I'm just throwing it out there to Omar. Didn't later on other people translate these tablets and they got a totally different context and totally different?
Yeah, many people
Later.
have done it, different stories coming out all the time. And, for me, I think Zachariah Sitchin was more part of the disinformation
Yeah.
so that we don't
For the fear
get that.
factor, keep the fear going.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because his story just doesn't make any sense, Gloria, because just right here, past Mars in our asteroid field, there is a chunk of rock that's called Psyche 55, I think. And Psyche 55 has more gold in this one chunk of rock than the entirety of the Earth.
There you
So
go.
for me, I made a video on this actually a couple of years ago, and one of the questions that I posed in that was that if somebody had given you a mission to save the Earth, like the Anunnaki had been given, their planet is going to die if they don't fix their atmosphere. They need gold. They need it now, or everyone's going to die. So if the question that I posed was that if you were given a mission like that to save the Earth, to save the planet, your family, your species, all the animals on the planet, would you really go to another solar system or within the solar system to go to a planet like Mars and build structures on it, and then go to the moon, build structures on it, and then come to the Earth and create a brand new species and have no equipment to mine any of the gold and have no workforce to mine the gold?
I know when you use some discernment, you break that down. It is illogical.
Yeah,
If
like,
you
would you do that? Would you
if
do
you
that?
have but if you have the ability to travel within this 3D whatever it's called, matrix, whatever you want to call it, then you've got some high tech shit going on, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? You are so advanced because you're obviously you're maneuvering consciously in dimensions. You're moving. There's no time. They're fully aware there's no time. They don't have time. It takes me 6 days to get to it. No, they don't have that. No speed of light. Boom, boom, boom. That's a human concept.
Yeah.
What we're being told. It's
Yeah.
a human concept. And when you work out, just like you, my God, that is, again, I always use this analogy. That is so illogical. Like if I asked you the question, Omar, what is the sex of a tuna sandwich? That's how illogical. That's my favorite.
I like that one. I'm gonna steal that one.
You get these things, but at the beginning you don't sit. Then all you go, you could make that shit up. What?
Yeah.
Is that illogical? The statement. If you've got beings coming down, as ancient civilization has told us, in these out of these worlds craft or whatever, in and out, they're not going to go. It's human. So anyway, moving past.
I myself would go to the nearest source. I would scan. I would scan the area,
right? Whatever, and I'd have
yeah,
that one.
and I'd go straight to there. I'd be like, grab that chunk of gold, guys. Let's put it through the shredder. Let's get back home and save everybody, instead of having to go through the bullshit of creating a new species and building this and building that.
The statements he made is what I call false opposite. At that time, what year was that he did that? Do you remember the year he did that?
I think it was in the 80s, 70s, 80s, something like that.
So obviously something's coming in on the planet, and they need to do a shift to diversion to take you somewhere. Like a false flag.
Yeah.
And my God, that took over the planet. Conspiracies. People took their attention off what they should have been looking at. I mean, even I did for a while because I had to look into it. I had to. And some people got hooked on it and stuck on it.
Some people made a cult out of it.
Yeah. And spend the rest of their life stagnated at that point.
I call them Sitchinites.
Yeah, well, I say, it's a good one. Stagnate.
Yeah.
So, right, let's move on from this one. So that was all of this shifted you again. You started Watchers Talk. Then what comes next with you, Omar?
My awareness increased. It was like a kaleidoscope that was being moved, right? My perception was totally changed from what I was, where I was, to where I am today. Like what I know today I had no idea that this knowledge existed, like sound healing and, things like that, color healing, and, consciousness in itself. I had no idea about consciousness. And,
Mhm.
I thought that I pinch, therefore I am, right? I can
Yeah.
feel myself, and
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
That's me, and
Mm.
there's nothing more beyond that.
Yeah.
But now, my perception has totally changed into the idea that I am source, that I'm consciousness,
Mhm.
and that I've chosen to be here in this particular moment and in this time.
Mhm.
And that's kind of, Gloria, is where I am at, because my
Mhm.
mind is constantly running,
Yeah.
because I'm always trying to, you know raise my own awareness, because this
Mhm.
whole thing started with Watchers Talk was for my wife.
Mhm.
Because when I started Watchers Talk, my main goal behind Watchers Talk was to talk to other abductees and
Yeah.
talk to other experiencers, and I wanted to take away the information from there so that I can apply to my wife and say,
Yeah.
okay, well, these people are going through this.
Yeah.
Is this what's happening to you? So we'd make a checklist and go
Yeah.
through
Yeah.
that.
Mm.
And now that I figured out what's happening with my wife, right? The entire concept of the show like really changed,
Yeah.
right? Because it took me about a year and a half to discover what was happening with my wife. So for the first year and a half, like a lot of my shows, 80% of my shows were all UFOs and
Yeah.
aliens.
Mm.
And then after that, it gradually began to change, right? It began to
Yeah.
go into the megalithic stuff,
Yeah.
and then from the megalithic stuff, really went straight into consciousness,
Yeah.
and then exploring consciousness now, full time for last 4 or 5 years. Really full time. I start
Yeah.
this at like 8 o'clock in the morning, and
Yeah.
I don't go to bed until like 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Mm.
And I'm just constantly reading and searching.
Mm.
And I'm not really quite sure what it is that I'm looking for,
Mm.
right? I just know that I'm looking for something, right?
Yeah.
I'm just not quite sure exactly what it is that I'm looking for. And Gloria, this might have a lot to do, with my actual life and the reading that I'd received a few years ago from this lady from Australia. Before, I wasn't really into readings and psychics and
Mm.
all of that, because number one, the programming, and
Mhm.
number two, right, I had this preconceived judgment in my mind of psychics. And so I really didn't resonate with any psychics. When they were
Mm.
talking, I would just flip the channel. I'd be like, nah, you can't
Mm.
prove it, so
Yeah.
I don't want to hear it. Right. So this lady had contacted me, and she said, I've seen a lot of your shows, and, I have a message and I'd like to speak with you. And I was like, okay, well, what's the message? She's like, I have this psychic message that I need to share with you. And so as she said psychic,
Yeah.
I was like, nope, not interested. Sorry. You're just trying to feed me a pile of garbage. And, I
Yeah.
really don't need that right now. And so she just kept on coming back and kept on
Mm.
coming back for a good 2 3 weeks, and she just kept saying the same thing, say, hey, I want to connect with you, I want to connect with you. And then finally I was like, okay,
Yeah.
just to get her out of my hair, I thought,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, she's not going to stop until I say okay.
Mm.
So I was like, okay, let's Skype, and let's get this done with, right? So we got onto Skype, and we chit chatted for a couple of minutes, just getting to know each other, and then she just dove right into it, and then she started telling me things that no way she should know, right?
Mhm.
Me being in prison, I'd never shared that
Mm.
before. Me being put into foster care,
Mm.
no one ever knew that. I'd
Mm.
never shared that. So, she knew things about me that she shouldn't. So, that was a clarification for me. So I was like, okay, you got me here. Things that I don't. How is it that you know these things? And she said, I just know this intuitively.
Mm.
I just know this. And then when she was saying that, I went back to my Diana experience, where I was like,
Mm.
okay, well, I just know this.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I just know this. So
Yeah.
I connected with that, and then now my ears were open. I was like, okay, because
Yeah.
I've connected with you at a particular level, now I'm willing to hear you out.
Mhm.
So she started doing this reading, and she'd explained to me that I'd never incarnated on Earth before, and in fact, that this was my first visit here to Earth, and that I'd come here only as an observer, and then after my observation on this planet was over, I would, incarnate as something else. She wasn't really quite sure what I would incarnate as, but she said, I just see you incarnating as something else. And then you have to give your report to the Council of 13. And I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. And then she went on to say, right, she's like, you don't have any genetic ties on this planet, and that you're not going to leave any genetic ties on this planet. So she went on speaking like that, and then I kind of just put it to the back of my mind and just kind of just left it there. And then a few months later, I was meditating and I began running that through my head again, and then I come to a realization. I was like, oh my God, this woman, she knows things about me that she shouldn't know. And now I really have to dig deep into this. So this takes me back to day one, right? So the day one, right? My parents, they met in Montreal back in 1974. And my dad was living in Spain, and he'd migrated from Spain to Canada to come to university, but originally he's from Pakistan. So and my mom is Mohawk Aboriginal Canadian. So in university in Montreal, they met, and right away they got married, and my mom got pregnant and had me. And then 6 months later, my parents divorced, and then my dad put me on a plane to Denmark so that my aunt and uncle would raise me and look after me, because my mom had some serious alcohol problems. And one of the catalysts for my dad leaving was that when he showed up at at the house, there was something that was going on with me that he didn't appreciate that my mom was doing. I'm not really quite sure what it is. He's never shared that with me. But I guess that was a straw that broke the camel's back, and he grabbed me and removed me from the country, and I went to Denmark, and I stayed in Denmark until I was 10. And then my father got remarried, and my aunt and uncle said, hey, look, this is your kid. We've been raising him for 10 years. Maybe it's time for him to come to Canada and for you to do your part as a father and raise him. So the agreement was that I'd come back to Canada. So in 1985, I moved back here to Canada, and I would say within weeks of arriving here in Canada, the physical abuse began at home, and then that carried on for about a year and a half, and then at that time, child services got involved, and I was going to school with bruises and things like that, and so child services got involved and removed me from the home. And at that time, I went into foster care and into group homes and institutions, and eventually into prison, and then out, and then to where I am here today. And then when I think back on that lady's, I don't even know her name, actually. I can't even recall. But anyways, when I was thinking about that, and what she was saying is that I will have no genetic ties on this planet, no anchoring like that, and that I'm not going to have anything like that happening. So I began to really think back. I was like, okay, so how do I make sense out of this? Right. So the way I made sense out of this is that because I don't know my parents, I've never met my mom, right? I've spoken to her on the phone once or twice in my life, and really don't know her from a hole in the ground. Same with my father. I really don't know him, and the 1.5 year experience I had with him was not a very good experience. And so what I thought is like, okay, so this kind of does make sense. If I've come here on this planet as an observer, then that means that I needed to carry some sort of a genetic memory. And because this genetic memory is going to help me in my process of doing whatever it is that I need to do here on this planet, and I chose these two satellites to help me incarnate into this planet. They did their part, because for the first little while I hated my parents. I was like, I just really had a dislikeness for them, but now I don't. I've forgiven
Yeah,
them.
I'm with you.
Now I
I
realize.
mean, I've got to jump in here, Omar, because your name says a projection of you, and people know that watch my show. I say the same thing. I say in my groups, this is my first time here. I always knew it was my first time, but I didn't know the hows and the whys and whatever. When I came, and then the realization through, hundreds of years, this lifetime, that is, I came into, similar to you, I came into the darkest side of human experience, which was torture, child sexual abuse, everything you could think of, it was done. And I didn't belong. I had these gifts, of the paranormal gifts as a toddler. It went on, and I felt they weren't my parents. It went on, and it was the darkest, the absolute. And I never could attach to anyone for
Same here.
Never, I could never. And then it wasn't till, the latter part of where I am now, through all the experiences, the contact, and just the knowing comes in. That's all I can say. And I said, I come here for now. I am not a fucking savior. There's no way on earth. I couldn't save myself, no one, anyone else. But I became aware. Obviously, I am what you label a psychic medium, but I'm a rescue medium. There's a difference. I do teach it to those up and coming. However, I don't do stage and things like that. Only urgent messages. I have to follow them through. But then I had that realization myself. And I kept saying, what is this reincarnation? I couldn't get forever, for decades. And I'm saying it doesn't resonate. But there seems to be. And then when I went through the process of self-realization, I consciousness experience all things at all time. I thought, oh, well, they're just experiencing on different timelines. So that answered the question for me. Don't keep coming back. You are God. There's nothing to learn. There's just the experience through the journey of self-realization. So I got that. So, well, they can say reincarnation, but to me, you're experiencing all things at all times. Okay.
Yeah. We live in all dimensions at
just
the
like you
same
up from
time.
Diana and that. So I got that, but I kept still saying, I've never been here before. I had a knowing with the multiple decades of experiences, and then it just come into a realization. And then I remembered from way back all the experiences. I mean, way back in the day when the internet came out, I was teaching, believe it or not, I was teaching metaphysical poetry. Yeah.
Nice.
And it was international. And I was encouraging, didn't know what I was doing, but I was doing, obviously, encouraging something. And it was always about the divine, this love. And I remember they would, the information, you're not going to believe this. You couldn't make this shit up. Other people know it. I was called the Watcher because I would watch.
Really?
Yeah. I do it in groups. I watch in the group. I read and I watch which is the next being to come awake. And that's what my groups are about. And I would go on, and then I could see in the metaphysical poetry, I could see. So I would go in and for the being, but I didn't know I was doing it then.
Yeah.
They say, you observe, you're the watcher. They would call me the Watcher. And this went on forever and ever and ever and ever. So I so resonate with what you've just said. I'm glad I did another one. Hello. Nice to meet you. I haven't met another one. You're the first person I've met that said the same as me.
Yeah, for me, I feel that, because it's my first time and I don't plan on coming back. Right?
No, it's not happening, love.
And I don't have any, and also what I'm doing is that I'm not leaving any genetic ties behind that is connected to me or that can anchor me to this world. And, I never was ever in a position to have children. Like you were saying that you couldn't connect with anyone. I was the same way. I just simply couldn't connect with anyone except for two people in my life. And one of them is my brother, my friend, Mike, that I met when I was 13. And we're friends, even today. We've been friends for like 35 years. And my wife. are the only two people that I've ever really connected with, and I never was put into a situation where I would have children and have that genetic anchoring to this world. But the way everything worked out was, I guess, planned. I would say, because the fact that I didn't have a family to connect to when I met my wife, she already had three children, and their father wasn't in a picture because he transited onto the next plane. And here there was these three young kids that were fatherless, and I was like, hey, this is my opportunity to have and experience that family and to raise those children. So I got into the relationship, and then I experienced raising children, and then now a grandbaby that that's around. And
so you're still it's not about
experience it.
You're still experiencing the same thing.
That's right.
I want to oh God, there was something that was there and I lost it. Hopefully it'll come back. There was something I was going to add. Oh yes, I've spoke about this when I've been a guest on other shows and on my show, not too often, but I have spoke about it. Also, some of the experiences I had way back, they also assisted in me understanding, knowing it was the first time, because I would be taken, Omar, and I'd have these beings, I don't know who they were, and I would be shown how to be human. And the one I really, really remember, I had no idea that I was going to work in crime. I'm not a criminal. I worked in youth justice and underprivileged people, domestic violence. So I supported victims of serious crime. But I had no idea that's where it would end up. But I would be shown this is how one human will kill another human. But I could read them. This will come first, then will come the words, watch the words, then look what happens to the energy of the other being. And I was going, and I was being shown how to behave like a human. And it's ironic that they showed me violence and crime, because that's what I came into, was violence and crime. But then later on, I used those experiences that were upon me. I used it as a watcher to go in and work with families and recognize this type of being, to protect the child and get the child away, or to work with that. So the similarities between me and you, it's the orange analogy, slightly different perception of it. And
for me,
brilliant.
Yeah, you're hitting the nail on the head there, because for me, what I find is that my life experience has allowed me to be more empathetic with people, because the first 10 years of my life was beautiful. Living with my aunt and uncle, that was an amazing time in my life. And then having moved to Canada, from pretty much 1985 to about 1998, 1999, it was a total shit show. And during that time, I spent a lot of time in isolation. I spent a little over 6 years in prison. And during that time, I was in 23.5-hour lockdown. And having spent all of that time with myself and, viewing everything, what's happening with everyone, being in foster homes and group homes, and seeing the kids that have gone through sexual abuse and physical abuse and mental abuse, it gave me an insight into that dark world. And what I find today is that I'm extremely empathetic, to the point where I can literally place myself in somebody else's shoes, regardless of where they are on the planet. I can read an article on the news, and I can place myself in the situation and actually feel the energy of that person, that. I can stand here at my window and just look out the window at a kid sitting there, and I can place myself, I can empathetically.
I mean, it's a key point. As I said, I spent my career, I went into nursing first. I was like the death nurse, so end of life, I would be there. And I spent my career supporting victims of serious crime. I have seen, and I worked on when there was a Bosnian war, I worked with refugees that come over, the women.
Mm-hmm.
Horrific experiences they'd done, and I could do all that. But you know what you said about empathizing? I had to learn to really control this empathy, because I'd be outside, I'd hear a child cry, and I knew the child was being abused. I was ripping inside. I was too connected. And then I'd see the father, look at the mother count. This just happened to be a scenario I can recall. I'm not being sexist here. I know it goes both ways. And that was hard. And I had to learn to control that. Obviously, I studied when I went into criminology and psychology. So serial killers and whatever, I had no issue. I was fascinated with psychopathy, because I needed to understand why my mother did what she did to me. And but my God, Omar, if something come on the screen back in the day where animals have been, even, the nature programs where the lion catches a deer, I can't watch it. And still to this day, as where I am now, I cannot watch an animal be harmed.
Same here. Yeah, same here.
I can't even hear it. Now, I find that I'm okay with humans, not that I'm okay, but I totally get it, what's going on with humans. But I still can't watch none of these rescue things. People, I get them off my Facebook if they start putting this shit up.
Yeah, I don't resonate with that at all. Somebody places, animal abuse on my timeline.
No, I can't.
No. I watch nature shows now.
Yeah, as long as there's no, I can hack a lion, catch it, but I'm always going, Bambi, run! Bambi, run! This is what I'm like. And sometimes Bambi beats the lion.
Yeah.
To that. Do you know what I mean? I understand with the animal kingdom, my truth is, they're not going with an ego intent. It's they're playing their role to survive. They need to eat. The Homo sapiens sapien part of the role play of the ego is, we can use the word evil. Yeah, even in the play, from the juxtaposition. Yeah, so if I'm talking from an experiencer of it, and I'm in that identity, it's downright fucking evil to torture a child. Do you know what I mean?
I call that an established form, right?
Yeah.
An established form and an unestablished form.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is, I've said it a few times, and I use my cat Daisy as an example. My cat Daisy, I would say, is an established form of a being. Meaning, and that she doesn't aspire to be anything more than what she is. She's a cat. She's content with being a cat. She's happy being a cat. That's her experience, and that's it.
Yeah. She doesn't even know she's a cat. She doesn't even know she's a cat.
Yeah, actually, thinks she's a human. Actually,
that's our label. We, coming from the juxtaposition, we have to label everything because we need polarity and separation. But in all truth, these animals, trees, they don't have a name. I think it was Rummy. Was it Rummy? Or one of them said, I can't remember, getting old, said, if you take a child and there's a bird in the tree, as soon as you tell that child bird, you've lost the consciousness of that being, because it's not really called a bird. So they're just, another, maybe I'm complicating a bit. Let me give you another one. They are just being and following the flow of the creation.
Yeah,
they have no outcomes. No, if they need to eat, they will. It's very similar through the process of self-realization. Stuff that I teach is like, we as identities, we have to be doing, for an outcome. But I say to people, the being is the same as the cat. The being, I don't go, Gloria, right leg, left leg, right leg, walk. Gloria, arm out, pick. The being naturally does what it needs to do to flow with the creation.
Yeah.
So I hope that wasn't too weird, but that's how I see animals.
Yeah.
They're just being what they're being. That's it.
Yeah, I see them in the same way, and I see humans as an unestablished form.
Yes.
right? Because of the fact that the human can aspire to be more
Yeah.
than what it is, right? It can say,
Yeah.
okay, I want to go into the astral realm, or I want
Yeah.
to,
There you go.
I want to, I want to telepathically communicate with someone. We have the ability to do that because nature has left us that way. It's given us really a gift for us to be in this unestablished state of form, so we can, practice, I guess, would be the word, our extrasensory abilities, right? So, for me, there's no walking away from that, right?
No.
Once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. Once
No.
heard
No
it, you
going back.
can't hear it, right? There's no, even if I wanted to take the blue pill, right? Because red pill is really a pain in the ass. But even if I wanted to take the blue pill, it wouldn't have any effect now.
You can't undo it.
No,
They get
no.
to the point. I think at the beginning of it, there, we all fall what we call fall back to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's part and parcel of it. But you get to the point, and I remember many times sitting, I'm not doing this anymore. Honest, I'm sitting there going, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And then I start laughing my head off. Then I start laughing because you can't go back.
Yeah, there's no going back.
And I'll tell you get to that point, you wouldn't want to come back and do it again.
Yeah.
If you knew who you were, why I don't know what I want, but it's not this polarity. Because it is, I mean, people have their many truths about what it is, whatever. To me, I am that experience in this, and there you go. And I still have, conditioning. It's still in there. I still have concepts that pop in and they jump out. It could be a bereavement. It could be something. And I go, oh, I'm being me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm expressing the being in here. Every individual being is autonomous. So every conscious being from the source has a personality, has a way with them, idiosyncrasies.
Mm-hmm.
We're all arseholes, but it's okay to be an arsehole.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it matters. It's okay to fuck up.
Yeah.
It's okay. So for me, the learning, and I've learned a lot over the past, I'd say 5 years about animals that I've never, ever, ever, never seen because something shifted, and about their state of being. And, if you watch birds, I say to you can walk down the street, Omar, and say to someone, listen to that. And they go, what? And they can't even hear the birds.
Mm-hmm.
They can't even hear. And then I did it with my children when they were younger. And I said, stop, listen. And they said, what? I said, listen. No, they couldn't pick it up. I said, birds. And they were like, oh, wow. Because as we come in, it should be, we're programmed in. That's the experience. Now we're deprogramming,
Yeah.
Now we're coming back out. I want to tell it in now. God, I could talk to you forever. Now I found another one like me. I could just talk to you forever. I mean, where we are now, we both unknowingly to each other, our shows have shifted. Yeah. And we seem to be doing the similar. That's good because that's validation for me and validation for you. Because I've always been aware, do not stagnate.
Yeah.
I don't, do not bring on something fresh and new, because with the spell casting I speak about, we are now creating, and we're creating energetically. When you become even slightly aware through self-realization, you're so powerful. You need to be very careful what you wish for.
Mm-hmm.
And the effect, it will manifest like that. And it's been doing that constant. So where we are now, Omar, I'm not predicting any future, okay? But we've got to ask questions on behalf of the audience, the questions I get asked. We all know in the 3D polarity, something is about to happen.
Mm-hmm.
We've all got the intuition, yeah? Okay? I will sort of add a caveat to this. Hold on. My truth at the moment, the only way I can describe it, all right, is that we're all in the Harry Potter School of Magic.
Mm-hmm.
We've got this magic, whatever you want to call it, telekinesis, and we're practicing playing now for real in the 3D. Yeah, that's how powerful. Most now are aware, even those that not even on path to us, have an intuition something's about to occur. I'm not asking you for an answer, Omar, but
I think
do you resonate with that?
Yeah, I absolutely do, and I've been working on this for the last 3 years, and I feel what's happening is the prophecy.
Oh my
Is,
God, don't say the word no. I was just going to say that. Stop it, Omar, you're naughty. Oh, God damn.
I think the prophecy is coming to light that the Anasazi talked about, the Hopi talked about, the Aborigines in Australia talked about, the Aboriginals here in Canada have talked about, that there's going to come a time when there's going to be a choice given to humanity. And I feel what they're talking about is timelines, and we're going to be given a choice of whether we want to walk the road of love and awareness, or whether we continue on the path that we currently are and have been on for the last several thousand years. So when it comes to the shift that's happening, I resonate with that because I'm seeing it in real time on a daily basis. I do live shows every single day, and every single day I'm seeing new people coming onto my channel that I'd never seen before. And that's a clear indication to me that people are waking up and they're beginning to choose the space of the heart rather than the ego that we've been currently walking on. So this transition that's going to happen, I feel it's going to happen in the next few years, because there's a number of things at play here. For instance, like when I did my looking glass week, from that, my awareness came that we have an agenda 2021, and then we have an agenda 2030. Now, these are timelines that these guys are trying to create. For me, I feel that the timeline of 2030 is a false timeline, which they're trying to direct us into, so that we focus on 2030. Because if we focus on something, then that something will just manifest itself.
Yeah,
so
I'm in the now. I'm not there. I'm in the now.
Exactly. We need to be in the now, and I feel that the transition that's happening and people's distortion is changing, that this transition is going to happen within the next 2-3 years, and it has been happening. In fact, we're currently in that transition.
We're in it. I want to come in. I totally my truth resonates with you. This, and I've said it before on my shows, what people are telling you it's going to happen at this date, just say fuck off. You're going to you're such a powerful being, even if you don't know it. Let me tell you, you put your attention on that,
it's going to happen.
That's what you're going to create. You're going to, that's the timeline. For the
I'm very careful of that now.
Yeah, extremely careful of now. I'm now. What am I experiencing now? I want to go back to this intuition that is coming from everywhere. I remember, back in the day in 2012, this message has repeated ever since. But I remember it was around about 2012. They were coming in saying the time is now. Well, I wasn't that realized. So I'm thinking linear, and I'm going on every year. Well, it's fucking taking forever. When's this now? And then the next similar, it's now. And I was being shown certain things that would be seen in the, but how long is it? I'm waiting for the now. And I kept saying to certain people, it's now. And nothing happened. And then I had to work on the ego, because it was ego, it was duality, and and it is now. It's now. It's done. It's now. It's happened. It's already happened, and it's done.
I was just thinking that it's already happened.
Yeah, it's already happened. It has already happened
right now.
And I've given this analogy out before. You've got two chess players. I've done this before. You know this, Omar. Two chess players. One's just checkmate the other one. They both know it's finished.
Mm-hmm.
It's the whole of the audience watching humanity. And they're going, oh my God, oh no, do you think he's going to win? Oh no, don't let him. And they're all reacting. But it's done. The game's over.
Mm-hmm.
Finished. There's no winners, there's no losers, but it's done. So I stay now. But within that, because I'm still having this human experience, I know the time is now. I will experience as this conscious being what is to come.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm still here. I think I'm not dead. I don't know. You could be talking to a ghost. It could be the film Sixth Sense. I haven't transitioned, I don't think, yet. Do you know what I mean?
I think we're talking to memories that have
yes,
already happened.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking to memories. So, and I've also, my energy is feeling an acceleration to such an extent I've never. So it's not just now, it's now.
Mm-hmm.
That is the vibration. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, I feel like I'm antsy, right? Like I'm on the edge.
Yes.
Right. Waiting for something. It's like going for a vacation tomorrow morning, and you got all your suitcases packed, your passport, your ticket, and you're just vibrating, just waiting for that moment to come.
And then if you do get distracted from being antsy, it's a really good word. Like, for example, you do a show and you start talking to someone and you stop being antsy, but the universe is reflecting back. Your guest is saying something and you're getting antsy. You know it. And it's like an excitement. It's the unknown. But you know it's okay. And I like the word antsy. I'll plagiarize it. It's this and it's now. And I have been recently listening to other podcasts for some unknown reason. I'm requested to listen to all these podcasts. I haven't got enough, time in the day to listen to other people, but I'm watching and I go, vroom, I'm in. And then something comes back to this antsy. This, oh my God, that's now. And it all relates round the prophecies. Now, what you spoke about, that's why I got all excited, Omar. It's the prophecies. However, each one of those civilizations had it from their perception. It may all sound different, but it's the same thing. And I think the prophecy is now.
It's the magic box was activated last year. Just like a little bit of a backstory on this, it's the Aborigines from Australia. They have the same prophecy as the Hopi do in the Anasazi. And they had predicted that the magic box will activate. And the magic box is Uluru in itself. And last year, when we were doing our winter solstice event, which you were a part of, during that event, there was a flash of light at, I believe, like 7:32, 7:33, something like that. There was a flash of light around Uluru. And what that, really indicates to us is that, the timeline has split, right?
Yes.
Because that flash happened, the timeline is split, but there's still that road going down the middle, and it has, changing lanes where you can change and you can go to this side or that side. And I think what's happening is that because of the Earth's distortion is changing, the Schumann resonance is changing, people's perception is changing.
All frequencies everywhere are shifting.
And I think we're going, currently we're in that shift of the prophecy. I think we're living it out. And we are part of this prophecy, and all this that we see that's going on around the world. They're distractions. Ukraine, Russia, Syria, Palestine, Israel, Johnny Depp, Amber Heard.
Stay in the now. Just turn turn your TV off at this time. If you want to go into the juxtaposition,
be in the present moment.
Stay in the now.
Yeah,
stay in the now. I can't emphasize it enough. Just stay in your own private life. Your own family. You don't need to be Don't look for self. No more doing, no more looking, no more searching. There's nothing to search for. Stay now. Whatever your life is, it doesn't matter if you're a Christian, Jew, Muslim, atheist, realized, unreal. It doesn't really matter what label you got. Focus off the TV, off the news, off the politics. Stay now in your life. In your
be
life.
magnetized and be in the present moment, right?
Absolutely.
Just center yourself, and don't daydream about tomorrow or yesterday. Just be in the present.
I mean, I got another analogy for this urgency or this antsiness. Imagine you knew it's not going to happen. I'm not saying Armageddon, all right? But I'm trying to show you. Imagine you had like one day with the whole of your family, the people you love, or your friends that you love. You may hate your family and love your friends, whatever. Or doing what you love. Gardening, cooking, cleaning, sweeping the streets, whatever, listening to music. Imagine you got a day. Give all your attention, all your being on now, which has no time ending. Go on for some time in the timeline. Just stay there. And if you stay there in this now, and let it all go on, that next thing you know, that will be gone.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of if you stay in one place long enough, the world will come to you.
Yes, you can use that analogy.
Yeah.
And that's the antsiness. Antsiness. Is there such a word? I just made shit up, haven't I? Let's use it. New word, antsiness. That is what's going on. But why not? It's my show.
I think it's a word, antsiness. I think it's an actual word.
Is it a word? It just came out of my mouth as you do. Stay in the now. Focus on what you love. Follow your highest excitement. Unless it's harming another, then don't.
Yeah.
Or you will go to prison and, dream prison and go through that timeline. But focus on your excitement. At the moment, me and you, I'm sure there's millions others, but only know about you at the moment. We've got this excitement. We don't know what it is, but our shows are shifting. Our conversations are shifting. And that's the space between, we're using analogies here, between two timelines. Yeah. There is two timelines. One's on the TV. Okay. You've got free choice. It's not a wrong choice. If my truth doesn't resonate with you, go with what resonates with you. I'm just saying you do have a choice. You don't have to live in fear. And
we choose to live in fear. We choose to live in division.
We choose.
We choose that. Just it's our choice. We can say yes and we can say no. We have the power to do both. And if we choose to be divided because of some subject or whatever that's going on, and you choose to be on this side and that side.
Omar, I'm going to say, call out People don't have the realization they have a choice. Until someone says, do you know you have a choice? And they go, what? You don't have to do anything you don't want to do.
Yeah.
What? People are I was that person once. I've been there, done it and did it. And I'm still doing it. Yeah. I'm still being an arsehole, still fucking up, because it's getting to the point where everything must go.
Yeah. I think
connected the identity. Go on.
Yeah. I think what's happening, Gloria, is that we've gone into like a cocoon. We're going from a caterpillar to turning into a butterfly. And up until now, we've been caterpillars. And when we, our shows have been caterpillars. And now it's going into this cocoon where, we are changing, we're, really turning into something totally different than what we started off as. When we started off as, we were blue-pilled. And now we're red-pilled, and now we are aware and we understand of what's happening within ourselves. It doesn't matter what's happening around the world, that's just going to continue to happen. as long as we're aware of what we are doing in our
Yeah.
present moment in
Stop
our
going.
heart.
I
Yeah.
agree. Stop going external.
Yeah, instead of
Yeah.
identifying with identities,
Yeah.
right, of this identity and that
Yeah.
identity and
Yeah.
this one and that one, and having spending all this time and energy and defending
Mm,
those identities, the
mm,
best thing that we can absolutely do for ourselves is to shed those identities
yeah.
and identify as everything.
Yeah.
Whether you agree with what's happening in Ukraine and Russia, or whether you don't agree of what's happening in Ukraine and Russia, it doesn't matter.
No.
Don't choose a side saying, "Oh, I'm with Ukraine," "Oh, I'm with Russia." You're again, you're taking on an identity which you're going to have to defend.
And you're manifesting it, so you'll become part of it.
That's
Then
right.
you'll become part of sanctions.
Yeah,
You
you're
create
co-creating all
your
of
reality.
that. Don't
You
identify with it.
don't identify. And
Ignore it.
with this antsiness that you spoke about, very good one, I'm going to steal that from you, is like, if you stay in the now
Mm-hmm.
and create the now, your now, with the highest passion, highest excitement, don't go external. Stop the search. If you're on a spiritual path, stop the path.
Mm-hmm.
Stop the search. Stop it. Just go in and experience you.
Mm-hmm.
You look at you and then ask yourself, who's looking through these eyes? Who's the observer? Who actually is experiencing? You're aware of an experience, so you're before the experience. If you're observing an experience you're having, pain in my leg, you're observing, you're not the body, because you can't be, because you're observing it.
Funny you say that.
Yeah.
Funny you say that. I've been doing this for a number of years now, where I am a constant observer, where I am constantly observing myself. Like, for instance, even right now, as we sit here, we talk, I can see myself sitting here in this chair speaking with you from right there. And this is always the case with me. And it's been like that now for a number of years. And it all started when I was drywalling, and I didn't want to drywall. It's tough work, and it's very difficult, but the money is very good. It pays really well. So I didn't want to drywall, but I wanted the money, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, how can I do this? So one day I went to work, and I removed myself from myself, and then I began. I was over there, and I began watching myself working, right?
And then there's no suffering.
That's right.
I always say to everyone, even to myself, I still say it, so because you always got to be slightly vigilant, because that ego don't go nowhere. It's part of the journey.
Oh yeah.
It stays with you, and your thoughts will always be with you. And I always say, the idea that you have about yourself is the mistake. It's not the truth. The idea you have about yourself, just sit there and go, well, okay, here we go. I'm Gloria. I've got 6 children. They're all ideas, concepts. They're human. They're human.
Those are your experiences.
Yeah.
Right? Those are your
experiences. They are my I observed them. I experienced them, then they pass. And they all pass. All experiences pass and go. The only one thing that does not pass and go is the observer, which is now still, never passes, never goes. No, it's like people say, I had a moment of enlightenment and I felt this love and joy. I was one of those people way back. And I remember, I talk about me, it's always preferable. And I had an awakening, as you do, they come in increments. And I went, oh my God, and I was all happy. It was joy, it was love. And then, and I went, I lost it. Where's it gone? And it's an idea that you've lost it. But it's always there. It's never gone. You are that joy. And it takes a bit of going, but I found you don't need to go on the long searches anymore. If you just, look within, live your own life, observe the observer watching, observe your experiences. Even if you go, oh shit, I just hit my hand. have a discernment there.
Mm-hmm.
I just observed the experience of hitting my hand. If you observe it, never forget, you can't beat it. So I'm
That's
not.
right. And I really resonate with what you were saying, is that people don't know themselves.
No.
And that's correct.
Mm.
What people know about themselves is an absolute lie, because those are the lies that they
Yeah.
were told. And
Yeah.
because they were
Yeah.
told that, they believe that, and then
Yeah.
they,
Which is
express
okay.
that,
That's
which is
part of the
okay. But
experience. It's
yeah,
okay.
the prime example would be, when you ask somebody, tell me about yourself,
Oh, yeah.
tell me who you are, tell me,
Yeah.
tell me about you, right?
Mm.
And people, their answer will normally be, is
Yeah.
that, I am a mechanic, I
Yeah.
have 6 children, I have
Yeah.
grandchildren,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
own a home, and I drive a car, and I go on
Yes.
vacations.
That's it.
It's
Limited.
like, okay,
Limited.
well, I didn't ask what you do.
Tell
I'm
me about
asking
you.
you, tell me about yourself. Tell me who you are,
Mm.
right? And people have a very, very difficult time in
Yeah.
explaining who and what they are, because they'll
Because they've
always
never been
relate to their
asked this
experience.
question before. And when
Yeah.
they get a question like that, I mean, obviously, it's like cognitive dissonance. What? What do you mean,
Hmm.
who am I? I'm
Yes.
George, aren't I?
When
But
somebody asks me who I am, my answer to them is, I'm a point of attention within the infinite stream of consciousness, having this human experience as Omar, and that's what I am.
well, me,
Right?
I've given
And
up. That was elegant. That was beautiful. I'm getting too old for this shit. And I say, I've had enough. I say, do you know what, love? I am God.
hmm.
I'm God, having a human
Yeah.
experience. And I just got over myself, and that was it.
Oh, I've said that so many times, Glory, and I've taken so much hate on that.
I
It
don't
is,
really give a flying
it's
cigarette.
incredible. For me,
Everyone is
yeah,
part of source.
you
I don't
are
mean
a
I'm God,
creator.
God.
Yeah,
Everyone is part of source.
that's right.
Everyone is the breath of the source.
Hmm.
Call it God, call it Yahweh, call it Jesus, call it universe. It doesn't matter what label you give it. We're all going to have a different interpretation, but we all know somewhere something's called home.
Hmm.
Home.
Zero state, the zero
Zero state.
dimension.
Give it whatever label you want. We're all
Hmm.
part of that. Let's do, for the end of the show, for the audience, you know this, we have a ball of this creative, beautiful light.
I can see
That's
it.
source. Let's put the colander over. The source beams are coming out of all the holes. Here are all of us having a human experience. We are the gods co-creating this experience. That means whatever you put your attention on, you will go in that timeline and experience it.
Hmm.
You have free choice to choose. So when I say I'm God, you're God, we're all gods. To have an understanding of self-realization, I need to know that everyone's a God, even the arsehole's a God, because I
That's
was an
right.
arsehole God as well. And I'm
I
still
look at it from the disco ball
good
uh,
analogy. Go on, yeah.
analogy, because on the disco ball you have these little beams of light that are coming out, that are
Yeah. Yeah.
sprinkling the room, and each one of those lights may have different colors
Yeah.
to them, a different
Yeah.
filter of color, but
Different frequency. Yeah.
the source light is the same. It's that same bulb inside that disco ball that's
Absolutely.
giving off different rainbow colors of whatever colors you want. None of those, even though those lights may appear to be different, they're not. They're still the same light, and that's what we are.
Yeah.
Our consciousness is the same consciousness, like my name, a projection of you.
Yeah.
Because I am a projection of you. When I'm looking at you, I'm seeing myself, and when I see myself, I see you, because we're all an expression. We are a point of attention within that scope of source, consciousness, God, whatever it is that you want to call it. We are all a point of attention within that same aspect. And when death happens, the physical death happens, it's not that you died. All that's happened is that the shift has been lifted. The point of attention from you has been lifted, and now it's someplace else, and then someplace
Absolutely,
else, and someplace else. You still continue to exist.
yeah,
You were before you came here, and you
yeah.
will be
You've never not
after you leave
existed,
here.
by the way.
That's
You've
right.
always existed. You've never
Always.
not existed. You were
Yeah.
never born. You were
Never.
this is really
You were-
hardcore. You were
you-
never born, you will never die.
That's right.
Only the idea you have about yourself
Mhm.
is born and dies.
Yeah. In
But
reality,
the observer has always been. Yeah.
yeah. In reality, you are what's that word I'm looking for? It's I forget now.
Try and explain it another way and it may come.
Yeah, I forget now what I was that word I had in my mind. Okay, maybe it'll come back to me.
Maybe it'll come back. I mean,
it's all that pot. It's all that pot.
It's all that pot. Stop with the pot.
Yeah. It's the pot.
Omar, we have just about, I've just looked at the clock. We've just coming up in 5 minutes to 2 hours.
Really?
It's like, where did time go? And now I thought,
we just started.
I need the loo. And I'm telling you guys, the only reason I'm stopping this show now, live show, after coming up to 2 hours now, this is a first, is because I need the loo. And I've just realized.
Me too.
I don't have any until now. I looked, see, this is, I put your attention on, I looked at the clock. I said, God, we've been 2 hours. Watch this. Then the body says, you haven't been to the toilet. Then I want to go to the toilet. You could, if I didn't look at the clock, we would have just gone on and on and on. And I more likely would have wet myself at some point or not.
I would have just said, Gloria, hang on, I'll be right back. I got to go to the bathroom. Hold the conversation. I got to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, I didn't realize I needed the bathroom, so I looked at the clock.
Yeah.
I think it was just
I've been drinking coffee like a madhouse since this morning.
I love that coffee.
All of that is catching up. And you know what I was thinking about just a second ago is that in reality, we are all a field of information.
Yeah.
And that's all we are, is a field of information that's manifested into this form to express that field of information. Right. So, yeah.
I love it. I mean, now my whole attention is on my bladder. Here you go.
Yeah, mine too.
And you too now because I brought it into your reality.
Yeah, mine too. Now we're in that same timeline.
We've done a 2 hour one. I think next time we're going to say it. I'll say, Omar, just hold this space. I'm off to the loo.
Yeah, and then
There's no belief systems. You can't do nothing. All right. And next time, if we need the loo, we'll go to the loo because, I'm just saying we're going to close the show now because we've both I started first and now we've lost the track. So, Omar, sell yourself shamelessly now. Where can people get hold of you?
Well, I'm not difficult to find. I'm only operating on one platform. Actually, I'm operating on a couple platforms, but the one that you can find me on is my YouTube channel, Watchers Talk. And then within Watchers Talk, in the description of the videos, you'll find my Telegram chat room. And that's where I'm at. And on Twitter, you can follow me as well if you choose to do so. I've been on Twitter for a number of years, but I just really wasn't active until just recently when Elon decided to buy and give free speech a new platform. So, I thought, okay, it's free speech.
Just put in Watchers Talk YouTube.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah.
Before we go,
I would say Facebook, but I'm really trying to transit off of Facebook, so I don't really promote anything on Facebook. But you could find me on Facebook. But I'm very active on Facebook. But I kind of want to leave Facebook, so I don't really want to direct anyone.
All right, so basically YouTube's your place. Watchers Talk and get the links
YouTube and Telegram, and that's it.
Okay, that's wicked. Right, I've got to shout out to people. Someone called Discog says, keep your attention on your own bladder, please. Sorry, guys. If you're sitting listening for 2 hours, I've got everyone running to the loo. Thank you, Discog. Thank you, Big
John. Yes, Big John.
Yeah, thank you. And a shout out to where I'm going up again. I missed it. Lisa, Ivana Johnson, get you back on the show soon. And
Ivana, she's awesome.
Yeah, and blah, blah. Pure Love Ascension, love you. Thank you. And Gail, Omar, it's been a 2 hour. I mean, I could have gone longer. I do apologize for focusing on my bladder. Maybe I'll go and put a catheter in next time. Do you know what I mean? And we can do a 6 hour stint.
I've done it. I've done it, Gloria. I did a 9 hour.
You can in a bottle. I can't. You know what I mean? So,
I did a 9 hour session with one of my guests, and he just kept going, and I just kept going too. And
yeah, you get going too. I'm telling you, next time, I'm telling you, next time, I'm just going to say, hold the space. I'm off to the loo.
Yeah, and I'll do the same thing.
I don't want to lose it.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, Omar. Now I've got to try and get Rob on separately, and then after at some point get the two of you on together for the collaboration and the amazing work that you're doing as co-collaborators. That was hard to say, actually. Co-collaborators. Aha! So shout out to Rob Yox. You've got to get on the show.
Full Spectrum Universe. Yeah, that's right. Check out Full Spectrum Universe on YouTube.
Universe. Yeah.
Wonderful channel.
Also, Inception. I've got to give a shout out to Chris Matthew. Inception is on the Forbidden Knowledge News Network. Check out Chris Matthew and all the great interviews he does. There's so much diversity, so much choice. Whatever your truth is, you can just go down there, go and listen to him. He is absolutely the most amazing person I know, with the biggest heart in the world. He's a great guy. So I think that's it, Omar. So, guys, it's goodbye from Omar, or
Omar. Decided to change my name, right? It is Omar, but I realized that there's an Om in my name, so I will go with the Omar.
Right, I will just say it's goodbye from the protection of you, because it makes my life easier at my age. And this is Inception Live podcast, actually. And I'm Gloria. Thank you so much for watching the show. Until the next time, guys, bye for now.